I have just returned from an internal tour of the province of Sindh, where the situation has become untenable. The whole province, which has one cash crop of sugarcane, is facing desertification because the ruling party has 24 of the 28 sugar mills in the area, and the price this year has been forced downwards from a government notified price of 182 rupees per unit to some places as low as 100 rupees per unit. In other words, practically halving the whole situation. And I think that there is going to be a lot of problems in the new crop that needs to be now planted. And Sindh will suffer deeply on what is happening. But coming back to raising the issue of Pakistan and the US and India and Afghanistan, first of all, let me say quite adequately that I have been making many warnings on many issues which have all turned out to be true, sadly, and there has not been any attention paid. It doesn't seem as if the country's authorities are decided to do something beneficial to the country in this respect, and that is playing a dangerous game. I've warned of their raising world opinion through the United Nations and other such agencies, and that is exactly what now seems to be happening. I believe that the United Nations is now sending, it's not unusual for them to send a committee to inspect how sanctions are being treated in the country they have been awarded upon. And of course they will find that Pakistan is not in compliance. Well, I would suggest to Pakistan to begin with, why not comply? If there are names that tend to be sanctioned, well then keep an eye on them and provide reports on what is happening about them time to time to be able to nullify anything emerging through the United Nations against you. If someone needs to go to trial, let them go to trial and invite the United Nations to send a lawyer from their side as an observer so that they can say whether what has been said has been adequate or not. And I think the biggest situation that needs attending to is that as far as Pakistan is concerned, they should keep a rapport with world powers at the UN. Remember when they say the UNSC will sanction a name, well then you do know that when I was on the Security Council, I did not allow those sanctions by just saying no along with a permanent member. You have Russia and China. Stop it if you feel. Let them view whatever there is that can be proved or cannot be proved. And just stop the name being said, so then you're not sanctioned. So why aren't we using our United Nations power to be able to stop misuse of this product if we are so firmly convinced that it is being misused? So, having said that, I now come to a situation which we must also address, and I think that the Democrats in the US have issued a report which is a scathing indictment of the Republicans' foreign policy. And what they have said in that report is that the 45th American president is pursuing a dangerous, reckless, and un-American foreign policy. Well, that is their internal matter, but then shouldn't we be prepared to understand what is happening in Afghanistan and what is happening and is planned to be done from India or Afghanistan? Uh, I think I will add to this a simple statistic that in President Obama's time, the international community, through a Gallup poll, showed that 48% of the world trusted the leadership of the world to the President of America. The latest Gallup poll shows that this has now been reduced to 30%. That's a massive fall. And I think that, in fact, clearly shows what is happening in the world, because chaos and turmoil have definitely taken over. I also would like to say this very emphatically, that why do you keep raising this issue of 33 billion? That's not true. It's not true at all. And I believe that we should become more realistic and remind, and through our offices, in foreign offices throughout the world, remind the world that, in fact, Pakistan has been given less than 1% of the entire cost in Afghanistan as aid, less than 1%. And we're talking of us bearing the costs of the wars starting from 1977 till we went practically bankrupt. And the largest heralding of our going practically bankrupt was through the United States, who didn't help us, but in fact were proclaiming, oh, it's a failed state, a failed economy. Well, it isn't a failed state, and it isn't a failed economy. We've had our ups and downs, and our leaders chose to take personal favors from the Americans rather than make sure that Pakistan was soundly treated by them. So here we go again. What we've got to say is particularly this, that as far as this new game of narcotics, I said it earlier, you know and I know that narcotics emerged in the Golden Triangle, where it paid for a lot of the war in the Far East. And it's happened here as well. And you must remember that all this narcotics is being produced in Afghanistan. If the United States is so concerned about how it's being transported, why don't they scorch the fields that produce the poppy and end it up altogether? Because everyone, the reason they can't do it with 40% of the country in Taliban hands, and they don't have to come to Pakistan for rest and recuperation. They stay in Afghanistan, nobody can move them. And the fact that several 100,000 acres of arable land in the southern regions of Afghanistan is farmed for narcotic production. You have a very simple thing. You don't have to come down with boots. Go up in the air and scorch it with a burn policy, and you will see how much more of Afghanistan is lost by you. We just get scapegoated. Remember the word. I keep saying it for the last many years. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, if you have problems, and this is where I think that our country is to blame, our government has failed, I said take it down from them in writing. What is it that they want us to do? Why did I say that? I said that so that they could be limited to what they have said, not come up with a new whimsical idea every few weeks or days or whatever. And we didn't do that. I said, lay customs duties on them. Well, we didn't do that either. So, really speaking, when they just keep taunting us by saying, do more, I think we should have very clearly, without saying it, imposed the duties and seen the results. Why didn't we do it? Why is our government so pussyfooting around with this aspect? We are to blame as a country. And I bring this to the attention, if there is an establishment in Pakistan, to their notice. What have they done about it? This needs to be looked at. I then go back to a few other things that I have time and again raised. And the most important, well, not most important, the important ones in them, one of them is that I have said that let them see what they want to see vis-a-vis your performance. You see, if you had a letter from them saying, we want this, 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 this done. Why? I told you in an earlier speech, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, yet they bombed the hell out of Iraq. Similarly, they went and bombed through Israel, Lebanon, and the capital, Beirut, and they said we keep hitting Hezbollah at these places. They recently, in the Sea of China, we have recently seen that in the Sea of China, they have given photographic, what they call evidence of China's accumulation of missiles on some of the islands in the sea, which gives them a far outreach of power around the South China Sea. Have they ever given photographs of Taliban entering Pakistan in their hideouts? No, they haven't. Though they can pick up, in the Congo, they have picked up rebel chiefs sitting in conference with their men from the sky. So what evidence have they given of the Taliban entering Pakistan? None. Or planning and moving for attacks from Pakistan? None. So neither have they got any documentary evidence or proof. Anything they say becomes the gospel truth, maybe because we accept it and do not counter it. Well, it's not true necessarily. And I think that this is why I said let them prepare a document which we must then answer. So all these suggestions I'm giving is there for you to use as counters. And as far as Sanders is concerned in the press room of the White House, she is considered one of the most oblique people in the press and by the press in America. And they will keep saying it because they need something to say. At various times, the lobby from India speaks out. You remember that statement by the Chief of Army Staff in India. You remember the state in which he spoke about having a limited war and calling Pakistan's bluff on nuclear weapons. Then you had the statement by the politicians from parts of India which said we will nuke Pakistan in a way that they'll never know what hit them. So we will have these provocative statements, and they've given statements saying we should change our mindset because the Americans have given them this statement a long time ago, that Pakistan's entire foreign policy is India-oriented. No, it is not. And in fact, ever since we've had a parity or whatever in the nuclear field, we realize that it's only mutually assured destruction. So we shouldn't be worried about that, because that prevents the war. And if they try to play games to wriggle out of it, and America gives them the space to wriggle out of it, I think that would be tragic. And you can then blame on the Americans the fact that for so many years we decided it wasn't worth it, we both were armed adequately, and now for their objectives in Afghanistan, where their own government says that they can't survive a day without America. So what is America supporting against us? The Indians or the Afghans or whoever there is? So let's put it this way, tie them down, take them down, try and get the world opinion on your side. Don't stand mute because standing mute is what was done in the time of King Henry VIII of England. And Thomas More said he would not speak a word in the court of law appointed by the king. And he was indicted and executed because the judges declared his silence is an assent to the charges laid against him. So don't be silent, Pakistan. Fight back.